What's going on, Pokemon fans? My name is Blaze, and what you're looking at right here is beta Pokemon Sprites from the source code that was just released. I want to say yesterday, maybe a couple days ago. Twitter's kind of been posting a lot of beta Pokemon content last, I think, starting yesterday. So I'm not sure when this was released, but Nintendo Everything and Dr. Lava and a few other sources are reporting on this, that there are a whole slew of like raw sprites for Pokemon that have been coming out, and what you're looking at here is just some of those sprites that were found in the source code for what looks like Gold and Silver. So I know people are coming through this source code to find all kinds of crazy stuff, but I thought today it'd be a great idea to go over some of these beta Pokemon and some of these beta sprites. So we're going to start up here at the beginning, and I'll switch the scenes here so you can see more about it. But this is from Nintendo Everything. They're reporting new Gen 2 leaks surface, shows beta designs for Picchu, Celebi, and more. So some of the easier ones to see here are Celebi, obviously. And let me switch scenes here so you can see it a little better. But we've obviously got Celebi here. We've got Shuckle, Picchu, Apom. 216, I think, is Mindfu in a very, very early sprite. And 195 here looks like Wooper. So those are some of the highlights of what we've seen. But then there's also a ton more. So I'll read through this a little bit and go over what was found. So 2 years ago, the 1997 Space World demo for Pokemon Gold leaked online. It brought along a ton of interesting details and scrapped elements, including unused creature designs. There's now been another leak for Gen 2 with another round of juicy discoveries. It seems that today's leak involves the full source code of the classic Pokemon games. Fans will undoubtedly be digging through it all in the coming days, but unsurprisingly, much of the talk thus far involves the Pokemon themselves. Beta and placeholder sprites are starting to spread online that show some pretty wild designs for Celebi, Picchu, and more. So here's a look at the sprite extracted, every sprite extracted from the game. So we saw Celebi already. Very interesting early design for Celebi. He's not even green, which I think is wild. I think Celebi looking green makes more sense, though I wouldn't, like, he looks more like an alien in this picture, and I think that, you know, green is more of like a leafy kind of a look for Celebi. Not that he's a grass Pokemon, just that I feel like it fits his name a little bit better. This one looks a little bit more like Elgium or Cofagrigus or something like that. It looks a little bit more alien and not so much like Celebi looks. So Celebi is not my favorite of the sprites, but I think it'd be cool to see something like this in the future. But I think the change was for the best for Celebi. I'm not going to say anything more about that. So as we scroll down here, we're going to see a lot more Pokemon that you've never seen. You might already have seen this one right here. These are like the numbers of all the Pokemon. So 250, 249, 248, 247, 246. And the numbers correspond to the Pokedex entries, the National Dex entries. 246 was Larvitar. So obviously that was what Larvitar was going to look like. Well, that might actually be a placeholder now that I'm looking at it. It does look very much like it's drawn and not actually a sprite. I think that might be just a placeholder picture, and maybe they don't have the actual sprite, but it could be something that they had, like maybe an outline, or maybe there wasn't a whole lot of details filled in, so they kind of drew it to make it look like what the sprite was going to look like based on what the initial details were. But very basic Pokemon compared to the Larvitar that we have now. If that is an accurate representation of the original sprite, then I think the detail we got in Larvitar was a lot cooler. So going down here a little bit more, we're going to see another Pokemon, another beta Pokemon. I'm not going to go through all of these sprites because I really feel like some of these are just like color variations that I honestly am not going to like go through this with a fine-tooth comb and compare every detail. I'm sure there are different poses and different color schemes for some of these guys. But here we've got Hitmontop at 237, which I've seen this one before. He actually has a third leg, and his head is a little bit more, I guess, it's not as friendly. I'll say that his head's not as friendly as the new Hitmontop is. So I think the change we got for Hitmontop again was for the best. But and I'll say this a little bit more later on, more often. But I really do think that it would be cool to have like Alola or like regional variants that actually use the beta content. We got Alolan Executor that actually had the super long neck that has appeared in concept art before. So it's not like they have forgotten about these Pokemon. It's very possible that, you know, especially now that they're out in the public, that we might get like regional variants with these beta forms, which would be really cool. I would love to see that. So right here at 236, we've got what looks like I'm not sure who this is, to be honest. I'm not sure what Pokemon this is. It kind of looks like an unevolved Loudred or a Whismur, but I really don't know what they were going for with this. It looks like it's a fighting type Pokemon because it's throwing a punch. So I honestly don't know. It could be a maybe an Audino or something along those lines, but I do believe it's a fighting type Pokemon. I don't know who it is. So if you guys know, or if you have any ideas, hit me up in the comments. Maybe I've missed something, but yeah, I'm kind of fascinated by this Pokemon specifically because it is different. As we scroll down a little bit more, we're going to come across Pokemon that were introduced in different generations that seem to have been planned for Generation 2, but were cut for whatever reason. Let's see. So right here, 216 and 215. These, to me, this looks like Mineshu. I think I'm saying that right. Mineshu. No matter how I say it, it's going to be wrong, but we're just going to go with that. Mienshoo. And this would be its unevolved form, Mienfoo. Very early designs. I think Mienfoo looks a lot cooler than this one. And this one does right now. And Mineshu, I think, looks a lot cooler than its original form as well. And I'll show you the pictures of those real quick because I feel like that's worth looking at. Here is the final design, and looking at them side by side. Whoops! It looks like that's what I think it is. And then its unevolved form, we'll go back and look at that too. It's way different than what this is. So I think that's what these Pokemon are, but it's kind of hard to say. They were first introduced in Generation 5, so it's very strange to me that they were shown off in a beta form in Generation 2, and then held off until Generation 5. So kind of cool. It's kind of cool to see that, but yeah, it's just interesting, I guess. Down here at the bottom, 213, we've got Forretress. A very early design for Forretress. I think his final design looks a lot cooler, but this one actually looks a little bit more menacing. Like it's very scary, almost like Glalie a little bit, just in the way that it looks. But I think that its final design was a lot cooler and looks more like a forest, or looks like it belongs in the forest. This one seems like it may belong in a volcano or something, but you know, it is what it is. And then down here at next to Grimer, right here, I have no idea what this is. This looks like maybe a Pelipper or... Oh, actually, you know what? I think that's the eel Pokemon. Alright, so I did some looking, and this Pokemon actually looks a lot more like Gorbis. I was looking at it for a second like I'd never seen it before, and now that I'm looking at it, I guess a little bit more intently, it does look a little bit more like Gorbis, which I'll show that here. Gorbis, of course, introduced in Gen 3. It kind of looks like it was maybe planned for Gen 2. It could have been Huntail, I guess, but it's probably not Huntail. He just looks very much more like Gorbis, so I'm gonna say that's probably what it is. But yeah, it's kind of a cool Pokemon. Very basic, not really a whole lot of detail there. Very, very basic, so not a whole lot going on. So if we go down here a little bit more, we're going to see 195 here is Wooper, which is interesting. Very, very basic design for that Pokemon. Doesn't look like anything that Wooper ended up being. He looks a little bit more like Mudkip, I would say. Like Mudkip mixed with a Wooper. So that's kind of weird that that's what we got. We've also got up here 202. I skipped this one. At first I wasn't sure what this was supposed to be, but when I looked at the number, I guess it's supposed to be Wobbuffet. This again looks like it's been drawn on there, but I will say that they probably drew that on there as an because maybe all they had was the outline or something like that. I don't really know if that's true, so take this one with a grain of salt because it looks like it's been drawn and not so much a sprite, and that's a very, very basic design, so they probably just didn't have anything ready at the time of compiling this source code or whatever it was. So and then over here 194 we've got Apom. Kind of a basic design for Apom. I like the way he was redesigned a little bit better, but this is actually kind of cool. I could see him being a dark type in this form, but you know, I think we got the better end of the deal with the newer design. Again, all of these sprites would be great as regional variants in the future, but right now it's just really cool to see them and really cool to see like the thought process and the game design process of how this got put together. Scrolling down a little bit more, we've got 191 here, Sunkern. I think Sunkern is... I like this design a lot, but I feel like they reused this for Floette in Pokemon Black and White, I believe. And yeah, looking at Floette now, I can definitely say that if they were to redesign or reuse this original design, they definitely added some details, and it looks a lot like it was Floette kind of evolved, or this Pokemon kind of evolved into Floette as the development cycle went on. But they did change Sunkern a little bit to show a different design altogether. So I think that, and I have heard that some of the Pokemon that get cut, or some of the Pokemon that don't actually make it into the game, end up being repurposed for later versions of the game. Like, it's cool that we actually get the Pokemon that were originally designed, and I think it's really neat to see the original, like very basic design of these Pokemon, and then to see what they kind of changed into over time. Maybe, I'm not sure why it was redesigned, or why it was cut, or why it was repurposed, but those kinds of details are things that may come out in the future, which is fascinating to me. I think it's probably fascinating to you too. I think it's so cool. And then there's two more Pokemon here that I wanted to kind of cover. One of them I don't know what it is because there's no design for it. 184 doesn't seem to be anything that I know about. Azumarill, maybe they just didn't have a sprite for this Pokemon yet, and they just kind of left it blank. There is no like drawn anything, and this might just be an outline. So, you know, 184 is Azumarill. This might just be a placeholder, is what I'm trying to say. So, side note though, I do love this Blossom color palette. This is really cool. Why they didn't go with this, I don't know, but it's really, really cool. And then the last Pokemon I'll show off here is Picchu, which is right here, the original sprite for Picchu. We saw that at the very beginning. I think, again, this would be a really cool, like, bonus regional variant if they were ever to repurpose some of these forms. I think what's really cool though is you'll find that there were beta sprites for, you know, Meowth and Cleffa and Igglybuff in the past. Maybe not Igglybuff, but I know Cleffa and Meowth had baby sprites, beta baby sprites that either changed or got cut. I think that's really, really cool to see some of that stuff too. So very interesting stuff that came out from the source code of the original classic games. I am just so excited to see this stuff. If you'd showed me this stuff when I was 17 years old, I would have flipped. I would have flipped out. The fact that we're getting it now is cool enough, but man, just the idea to see this stuff back then is honestly ridiculous. You know, to even have like the Space World demo. I would have loved to play the Gold and Silver Space World demo back when I was originally playing Gold and Silver, just to see like how the game changed and to understand where all this stuff came from. And you know, Space World demo was, at the time, you could only really play it in one place, and that was Space World, obviously. But you know, I couldn't go to Space World, so you know, having that leak online at the time that it was out would have been the coolest thing. It didn't happen, and online was just like kind of getting itself together at the time, like the internet and stuff. So I I think about that a lot. Like, man, how would I have reacted to see all this stuff back then, or to have been able to play it back then? But the times we live in are great for things like this, and to be able to get demos and downloads and stuff like that. So, forever grateful that some of this stuff is coming out. But anyway, let me know what you guys think. Which one of these is your favorite? Which one do you? What are your thoughts on some of these designs? Would you have preferred it be one way or another? Are you glad they've come out? If this video gets 10 likes, I'll do more content for Pokemon beta content. Just 10 likes is all I'm asking. So if you enjoyed the content or you liked the video, go ahead and hit like, subscribe, and all that stuff. I do a lot of Animal Crossing and Pokemon and Nintendo content in general, and I'm going to be doing a lot more videos in the future. So definitely stop by and hit subscribe. But again, thanks everybody, and my name is Blaze, by the way, and I'll catch you guys on the flippity flip.